There is a plague that has been transmitted in this country for years. Many people suffer from it and don't even know it. You could be a carrier of this epidemic. Here are a few symptoms: drug abuse, dropping out of high school, imprisonment, and even suicide. It's the father deficiency, the most needed vitamin in America. It's also the title of a book written by Frank Stewart, providing 29 tools needed to overcome growing up without a good father. Visit fatherdeficiency.org to order your copy or call 501-329-2055.
Good morning and welcome back again to your Acts Ministry podcast. Father's Day is over, but we know the plague of fatherlessness is an epidemic we still need to fight every day of the year. June is our Father Awareness Month, so for the rest of the month of June, we will continue to go chapter by chapter in my book, Father Deficiency, giving you an overview of each chapter. I want to remind you that if you missed a day, please feel free to go back. In the month of June, we give you all 29 chapters, plus the chapter of the introduction. So if you missed a day, feel free to go back and revisit that on our podcast. I know it will be a blessing to you. At this time, it's time to study, and we're going back into the book, Father Deficiency.
Welcome to the Words to Empower podcast, featuring Bishop Frank Stewart, pastor of the Acts Ministry in Conway and North Little Rock. And now, Pastor Stewart.
Chapter 24, The Value of Grandparents. How important grandparents are. Incredible, valuable commodity that we see in families. We see it in 2 Timothy chapter 1 with Timothy, who became an awesome and great man in history, but his grandmother and his mother were the ones that poured into him, that brought him up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And even though the grandmother and the mother raised Timothy, his father was present, but apparently not impacting Timothy's life. It was the need for mentorship. It was a need for the Apostle Paul to mentor Timothy and give him what he needed and take him to a dimension of what God had in his mind when he said, "Let us make man." I want to read something to you, statistics. It says growing number of children in the United States are living with a grandparent. In 2010, about 1 in 14 U.S. children, that's 7%, lived in a household headed by a grandparent, for a total of 5.4 million children, up from 4.7 million in 2005. These grandparent-headed households have helped fuel the rise of multi-generational household, a category that includes household with and without minor children. It says, in fact, over the past 40 years, the share of U.S. children living in a grandparent's household has climbed steadily, more than doubling from 3% in 1970 to 7% in 2010. So, brothers and sisters, when we look at these statistics, this statistics last done in 2010. 8 years later, we know that is continuing to grow up, continue to rise. So in chapter 24, we talk about the value of grandparents. And grandparents are very valuable. They have the uniqueness of seeing two generations grow up. Now watch this. But not just any generation. They have the uniqueness of seeing the parent and the child grow and mature. There's an incredible advantage in this. Incredible advantage in the grandparents being able to see that. Now, the reason that grandparents are raising their children is because of the fatherlessness. and not just fatherlessness, that rapid rising other plague in our country, and that is mothers are also becoming absent in the lives of their children. But I want you to think about this. A grandparent saw the parent, if they were blessed to see that parent grow up, they had the parent, they watched that parent grow up, and they saw the parent interaction. They saw that parent weaknesses and strength, and was able to shape and mold that parent. Now, when that parent has children, then that grandparent not only is there to see that grandchild grow up, but the advantage of being able to compare. See, we as parents, we sometimes forget. You know, when we look at our children, we sometimes forget and say, we were never like that. We look at them and we make the statement, we have no idea where they got that kind of behavior from, or that mentality. We have no idea. It's in our haste. It is in sometime our anger or our frustration that we declare that they did not get that from us. But our parents, which is the children, grandparents, that saw all of it. They saw the parents at 6. Now they see the children when they're 6. So they're able to look and say, you know what? You might not remember, but you had the same problem. Now, the Bible teaches us that foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. And I don't know why so many people struggle with that, as if they're shocked or surprised when children act foolishly or engage in foolish behavior. The Bible has told us that foolishness is in the heart of a child. Now, what it says to us is discipline will drive that far from them.
Stay tuned for more of Frank Stewart. And now for some special announcements.
Thanks for partnering with the Acts Ministries. We value your service and your donations. That's why we've made it easy to make contributions to support our ministry. Simply go to your web browser and click the search bar and type in actsminsitriesonline.org. Then click Donate Online. It's really that easy. For mobile giving, text the amount you wish to donate to 501-302-4242.
There is a plague that has been transmitted in this country for years. Many people suffer from it and don't even know it. You could be a carrier of this epidemic. Here are a few symptoms: drug abuse, dropping out of high school, imprisonment, and even suicide. It's the father deficiency, the most needed vitamin in America. It's also the title of a book written by Frank Stewart, providing 29 tools needed to overcome growing up without a good father. Visit fatherdeficiency.org to order your copy or call 501-329-2055.
And now, more of Pastor Frank Stewart.
Corporate discipline will bring about order and structure in their lives. So even though one might add the order and structure applied early and have forgotten the way they were as children, the importance of grandparents is they remember that you might say you're not like that, but I saw you. I remember how you used to act, and that helps children. Now, let me read what the proverb, the wise man, says. He says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Now, the one thing that the wise man said over and over, he says, in the multitude of counselors, the King James Version, a multitude of counselors. I think when we look at that, we get to saying it takes a village to raise children. And what we were saying is it takes a group of people, not just the parents, but those in the community, those in the neighborhood. Many of us that grew up during the 50s and 60s, and some in the 20s and the 30s, they saw that if you got in trouble at school, you got in trouble also when you got home. It's a different day now. You can get in trouble at school, and the parents want to fight the teachers. It's totally different. If you got in trouble down the street, the neighbors had the right to discipline you. It's a different story today. That will be a fight, or there will be a gun battle if you touch people, children, even though you live right next to them for the last 40 years. So it is a different day, a different environment. But in a multitude of counselors, and when we talk about grandparents, we're talking about a set of eyes that have seen the children grow up, and now they're watching the grandchildren. And just because they are who they are, they're able to look at both generations and make assessments and draw conclusions and speak things that the parents cannot speak because they're not as objective as the grandparent who was there. So when we look at Timothy, he had the mother and the grandmother. They was there. And because they was there to impart into his life and to do everything they should have done as women, as mother and grandmother. But it took the Apostle Paul. It was the Apostle Paul that brought Timothy to a level of manhood and took him to a place that God wanted him to be. Even though his mother Eunice and the grandmother Lois and the mother Eunice did an excellent job. But it was the Apostle Paul that brought Timothy to the point of extreme manhood, where he could impact not just his family, his community, but impact the world and generations to come. So grandparents, the value of grandparents, very, very important. I want you to understand that, and that information that they have, that relationship, which is so unique. A grandparent's relationship is so unique with those grandchildren. I heard somebody say recently that once you have grandchildren, you would want to just skip having the children and go straight to the grandchildren. And they said that in humor. In jest, I do believe. But it's a different relationship. There's a more relaxed atmosphere. But yet, in saying all of that, we must understand that in God's original design, it was not designed for the grandparents to raise grandchildren. Anytime that happens, you lose a dimension. Because when grandparents must raise grandchildren, then you lose the dimension of the parents. See, it was the parents along with grandparents pouring into the children. See, that you lose something when you miss a whole generation. And now statistics are telling us that in these grandparents' homes, there's a generation that's been skipped. So now there is no mother, there is no father, and the grandparents are trying to raise their children when the generation next to them has been skipped. And God meant for that village, for that family, He meant for that child to be impacted, not just by his parent generation, but also the generation that was before the parents, to give him an understanding, to give him a clear view of what life is all about. So when we look at chapter number 24, we see this extreme value that should be placed in grandparents. And Grandparents' Day should be a day that we celebrate on a different level. Grandparents, incredible value that God has placed within our human family to help us and also our children to be all that He would have them to be.
For mobile giving, text the amount you wish to donate to 501-302-4242.
The Acts Church in North Little Rock is located at 1224 Franklin Street. Morning Glory begins at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Sunday school begins at 8:30 a.m. And for a powerful word, join us at 9:30 a.m. for our morning worship service. Bible study is each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. At our Conway location, Morning Glory begins at 10 a.m. Sunday school begins at 10:30 a.m. Worship service begins at 11:30 a.m. On Thursday, our Bible class begins at 6:30 p.m. For more information, go to actsminsitriesonline.org or give us a call at 501-382-5500. 833-229-2055.
Thank you for tuning in to the Acts Ministry Podcast. The Acts Church is located at 1423 Indian Street in Conway and 1224 Franklin Street in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Tune in each day to hear an inspiring word from Pastor Frank Stewart.
Well, friends, that's the end of our broadcast today. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast today. Fatherlessness and father deficiency has been one of the great passions of this ministry. Being fatherless from birth, I am a personal witness of the devastation it brings into the life of a person. With this present father crisis we are experiencing in this country now, 1/3 of all the children living in this country live in homes without fathers. That's about 15 million children. We're asking you to join this fight with us by becoming a partner. Go to our website, actsminsitriesonline.org. That is actsminsitriesonline.org, and purchase the book Father Deficiency, or purchase an electronic copy. The Bible declares that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. The book Father Deficiency will give you the knowledge and bring awareness to you so you can fight against America's greatest plague. Remember, friends, that's actsminsitriesonline.org. God bless you, and remember our motto at Acts Church. If you're not doing church when you leave church, you're not doing church right.
There is a plague that has been transmitted in this country for years. Many people suffer from it and don't even know it. You could be a carrier of this epidemic. Here are a few symptoms: drug abuse, dropping out of high school, imprisonment, and even suicide. It's the father deficiency, the most needed vitamin in America. It's also the title of a book written by Frank Stewart, providing 29 tools needed to overcome growing up without a good father. Visit fatherdeficiency.org to order your copy or call 501-329-2055.